Que ondas tu pecho arriba, las manos, caballo moreno, penetra tu.
Hello and welcome back to Easy English Explanation by Pooja Joshi. Good morning, all of you. Hope you all are fine. It should be damn good. So, in this part, we'll start with the third part and the final part of lesson number 2, Moments Supplementary Reader of Standard 9th. That is, second lesson, The Adventures of Toto. So let me tell you in short the summary, and also you can refer for detail in refer to first video and second video of this lesson, and now the third and last video. First and second part we had seen that writer's grandfather, he bought Toto, the mischievous monkey, for 5 rupees from the Tonga driver. When they brought him, they did not inform the grandma, as grandma was always fuzzy about more and more addition of pet animals and birds for grandfather's zoo. But he was very mischievous monkey, and when he was kept in the stable with a donkey Nana, he used to fight with him and they never became friends. Then let's start with the third, last but not the least part. Now see here. A great treat for Toto during cold winter evenings was the large bowl of warm water given him by grandmother for his bath. He would cunningly test the temperature with his hand and then gradually step into the bath. First one foot, then the other, as he had seen me doing, until he was into the water up to his neck. So what happened? Here it was a great treat, a great like party time to have cold winter evenings, a hot warm water bath in a large bowl of warm water bath which was given to him by grandmother. It was a party time for him to take bath in that during cold winter evenings. He would very shrewdly, very smartly, he would test the water, the temperature of the water. First he would slowly put one foot inside and check whether the water isn't too hot, and then gradually the second foot. He had already seen the author doing this. And then he was into the water up to his neck and enjoyed his bath. Now let's see ahead. Once comfortable, he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub himself all over. When the water became cold, he would get out and run as quickly as he could to the kitchen fire in order to dry himself. If anyone laughed at him during this performance, Toto's feelings would be hurt and he would refuse to go on with his bath. One day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. Once he was comfortable in the water up to the neck, to enjoy bath during the cold winter evenings, he would take soap in his hands, or we can say feet, the first 2 feet, or we can say it as hands also, and he rubbed himself all over with the soap. He just used to take bath like some human beings. And then when the water became cold gradually, he would feel very cold and he would just get out of the water and run as quickly as possible to the kitchen fire so that he could dry himself up. But in this procedure, in this performance, as we can say, if anybody laughed at him, then he would feel very bad and insulted, like you children. We also feel insulted if anybody laughs at us. So same way he felt. His feelings would be hurt and he would refuse to go on with his bath. He refused to take bath when his feelings were hurt. One day he succeeded. He was successful in burning himself alive to death by the boiling hot water. Let's see how. A large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil for tea, and Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. Finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got in, with his head sticking out from the open kettle. This was just fine for a while, until the water began to boil. Toto then raised himself a little, but finding it cold outside, sat down again. He continued hopping up and down for some time until grandmother arrived and hauled him, half boiled, out of the kettle. Once what happened, here is an incident that a large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil for tea. Actually it was for tea, but as Toto was quite small and he enjoyed having hot water baths in winter season, cold winter evenings, he found that he had nothing better to do. He had got no work. So to make himself busy, he decided to remove the lid of the kitchen kettle, and water was at that time just warm enough, and he jumped into that water. His head was sticking out from the open kettle, and for some time it was fine until the water began to boil at a fast temperature. Toto raised himself a little, but he found that outside it's colder. Then again he went back into the kettle. For some time he just used to hop up and down in the kettle to manage himself, save himself from burning. But as the water was boiling at a lighting speed, then grandmother arrived there and hauled him from them, took him out from the kettle. By this time he had half boiled himself in the hot burning water. Let's see the meaning of hauled. Now see the meaning of hauled. Yes, pull or drag with effort or force. Grandmother pulled him with too much of force and effort. Now coming back here, if there is a part of the brain especially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. He was always tearing things to pieces. Whenever one of my aunts come near him, he made every effort to get hold of her dress and tear a hole in it. If somebody's brain, some part is very, very largely developed, it was Toto's mischievous part. If any part of the brain is devoted to mischief, that part was very well developed in Toto, like some young children who are very, very mischievous. So here writer means to say that Toto was equally mischievous. He was so naughty. So some part of his brain was very, very developed specially for his naughtiness. He always used to tear things to pieces. Whenever he saw any of the aunts of writer, he just caught hold of their dresses and used to tear holes in it, make holes in their dresses. So they were very scared of him, as their dresses were always torn by Toto. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. We entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with rice. My grandmother screamed and Toto threw a plate at her. one of my aunts rushed forward and received a glass of water in the face. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit through a window. We found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree. The dish still in his arms, he remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain. And then, in order to spite grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. One day at lunchtime, there was pulao was prepared in his house, writer's house. A large dish of pulao was there at the center of the dining table. They all entered to have the food, but when they entered, they see that Toto had already reached there, and Toto was filling himself with rice. Seeing this, writer's grandmother screamed. She shouted in a shrill voice. Screamed means to shout in a shrilling voice. And Toto threw a plate at grandmother. And when one of the aunts of writer rushed forward, that aunt received a glass of water in the face. Means Toto threw a glass of water in the face of one of the aunts. When grandfather arrived, Toto had no other chance. He just picked the dish of pulao and went out through the window to one of the branches of the jackfruit tree. Let me show you how does the jackfruit looks like. See here the picture of jackfruit. It is also known as jack tree, species of tree in the fig mulberry breadfruit family. We get in Western Ghats mostly. See here how does the jackfruit looks like and the jackfruit tree. So Toto was sitting on one of the branches of the jackfruit tree, through the window out. The dish was still in his arms. All afternoon he sat there and he was eating slowly through the rice. He was finishing each and every grain of the rice. And then he threw that plate down when he saw grandmother, and grandmother, he just wanted to teach lesson to grandmother as grandmother had screamed at him. So he threw the dish down from the tree and he was so happy, was jumping, chattering with delight as the dish broke into 100 pieces. Let me show you the meaning of spite. He spite grandmother. He felt means bad at grandmother's behavior. See here the meaning of spite. See, yes, he had the feeling of anger towards another person that makes someone want to annoy, upset or hurt, especially in a small way. He had the feeling of anger towards grandmother. So coming back here, the last paragraph of the lesson as well as our video, not the least, but obviously Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Even grandfather realized that we were not well to do and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtains and wallpaper. So grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. Ruskin bond. Now Toto was a sort of pet they were not able to keep for a long time. Why, children? Because they were not that much rich family that they can afford day to day, daily loss of food, waste of food, dishes, clothes, breaking of dishes, clothes, tearing of curtains, wallpaper, and what not. So, anyhow, grandfather also realized that it is very difficult for them to keep their pet like this one. So, he found for the Tonga driver. Somehow, he managed to find him and he sold Toto back to him. But this time, he got only 3 rupees. He paid 5 rupees for Toto and now he received only 3 rupees. With this, I would like to end the session, the third video of chapter number 2, Moment Supplementary Book, 9th Standard. Then this, for the time being, bye-bye. You please keep in touch with the studies. See you again in the next class. Bye.